Today on the channel we're going to be reviewing The Phantom, The False Jane Lafitte plus Bad Blood in Bengala Part 2, and this issue is number 1963, 36 pages of absolutely awesomeness. We're also going to be reviewing The Phantom Press Service and Bad Blood in Bengala Part 3. It is issue number 1965. And so let's have a look at these comic books, and I hope you enjoy this live comic book review of some very, very amazing books. Okay, so the first book that we're going to be talking about is The False Jane Lafitte. And the cover has been provided by Grange Wallace. And he has done a amazing, fantastic work. Amazing, fantastic job. Like, look at that big old kick. It's like that kick is up there. It's like real up. Real up. Issue number 1963. Really good looking cover art by Grange. Look at the cartoon skull. Awesome. So without further ado, let's have a look at these comic books. Lee Falk's The Phantom, The False Jane Lafitte was written by Klaus Remurthy, and art is provided by Anthony Spay. This is an Egmont story and was first published by Egmont Scandinavia in number Phantom and number 22 and 23 in the year 2020. The Skull Cave. So is this the final resting place of the pirate Jane Lafitte? Right. I've been thinking about him ever since that adventure treasure hunt some time ago, which this comic book and this story sort of should probably follow after the last Jane Lafitte book that we had a look at on the channel, and that was published by a few publications last year, and that was like talking about like Jane Lafitte, the treasure behind Jane Lafitte, and yeah, it was a really, really good book and a really, really good story, and that's why they put here See Few the Phantom, issue number 1957 for more information. And we reviewed that Phantom comic book, I'm pretty sure, late last year, because I was doing, I reviewed so many Phantom comics, probably less than what I'm doing right now, but yeah, it was so good. It was so good. So, yeah. It's a strange feeling. We are the only ones on Earth who know he's buried here. There are many myths and stories about how and where he died. There is a reason for that. After his death, there was an imposter who pretended to be him for several years. That story is in one of the chronicles. Really, I would love to read it. Love to hear it. So, as the story goes, this particular imposter that people think is Jane Lafitte, and it says, my ancestor persuaded the Lafitte crew to join the Jungle Patrol. They had been pirates themselves, and now they were fighting privacy. And there the story could have ended, but it didn't. Don't tease me. I want to know what happened. While many of the pirates found their way into the Jungle Patrol, but apparently some of them missed their previous lives as pirates. The leader was a scheming man named Dawkins. He secretly hatched insidious plans. The Jungle Patrol ships are the best I've ever seen them. Fast as the wind, even when fully loaded. They would be perfect as pirate ships. If we could steal one of them, we could go back to privacy again. Just think, with a ship like that, we'd be unstoppable. Soon an opportunity arose, and they said, "We've received several reports of pirate attacks across Cornwallis Bay. I suspect it's Mad Henry Duggins who's on the move again. Take command of the Seahawk, track down the pirates, and put a stop to their progress. A word of warning, though. Some of the Seahawk's crew used to sail with Jane Lafitte. I'm not entirely certain of their loyalty. Be vigilant and stand firm against them. That's all, Captain Wild. Roger." So, one thing I would like to point out is that in many stories that we've seen of the Phantom, I know this could have been because back in centuries gone past, the Jungle Patrol was just getting started. They needed sort of a head at the steering wheel, to be honest, and to try and steer them around the park like a halfback would in the NRL. Oh yeah. So if you're joining us, we're reviewing some live comic books. We're reviewing The False Jane Lafitte and Bad Blood in Bengala, and we're currently on page 5. Page 5. So further on in the story, there's a few people disloyal have dismantled half the crew, and then there's a big fight. The Captain Wild is in it for his life. He goes on to a lifeboat and gets saved by a merchant ship and is taken back to Bengala, where he finds his wound is infected, which doesn't mean that he's not in great shape, pretty much. And so I think he passes away. He immediately took up the hunt, and the Phantom immediately takes up the hunt for the mutineers. Hoist the sail, all the sails. I want to see the ship fly over the waters. I don't know how we can find them. They might have sailed in any direction. They're heading south. They intend to return to their old hunting grounds across the American coast. They catch up to the ship, and they are in a desperate attempt to avoid being boarded. In a desperate attempt to being boarded, the mutineers fire salvo after salvo. A shot hit the power keg, and my ancestor's ship turned into a fireball. Victory, we won. We blew the poor devils to pieces. Says them right. So that sentence just feels like, oh yes, Brad's in a rave party. he's in a music festival. Boom boom doons 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 doons. Thank you for leaving my mask on. And the Phantom is wounded, but he's then picked up by another. Miraculously, he was discovered by a passing ship. How convenient is it that he would find a passing ship? How convenient. Out on the open sea, comes past an open ship, they pick him up and they take him to safety. The doctor clears him up, and the nurse nurses him back to life. And so he gets another ship. He goes to another island goes back to the jungle. They're in a desperate search to try and find that there's rumors swelling, and Jane Lafitte's daughter, the real Jane Lafitte's sister, wants to take this into her own hands. The Phantom already has a lot to going on. There's a big war and civil war about to start with 2 jungle tribes that could spread over the entire jungle, and Jane Lafitte's sister takes on the role of trying to sort it out herself. So 2 weeks nearly 4 to a month after she leaves, the Phantom gets back and is wanting to try and track down where Jane Lafitte's sister is. The pirate captain, supposedly Jane Lafitte, is saying, "Now we need a drink. Thank you for bringing her here. You will be richly rewarded." And now this person here gets a note from the governor, who isn't quite entailed to know what everything's going on. So she brings it to his attention. They bring it to his attention. This person is on the receiving end of all of that, and they put they put the governor of the town into the hole. And then the Phantom turns up. The Phantom wants to get rid of Dawkins, the real person behind who's spreading all those rumors about Jane Lafitte. And by the time this is all done, the Phantom ends himself. He finds himself in a hole where the other person was, and he somehow miraculously escapes. Jane Lafitte's sister is getting tracked down by dogs, goes on to the other side of where this wooden tree is, and the Phantom is saying, "Listen up, you stinking thieves and pirates, come out into the yard if you value your miserable lives. What the hell is this? If this is a joke, I will look there. It's the ghost who walks. He won't walk any more when we are done with him. Exactly, we're at least 10 to 1. Of course you are, but in this case it doesn't really matter at all. Run out of the way, and bam, boom, crash, bang, tow." The Phantom goes to rescue his wife, and in doing so, the pirate that was supposedly ruining Jane Lafitte's legacy falls to his death. Miraculously falls to his death. But is that the reason? But I got one thing with this story. There's a river right here, right? So if he falls to his death, does that technically mean there's a pothole of a story coming, and he could have survived? Possibly, but no. Possibly, but no. Possibly what happened is when he fell, he's probably hit his head on something, which means that he's gonna possibly die, or he hits the water too hard, he dies, and possibly drowns himself, which isn't great circumstances, but he was trying to deceive people into believing that he was actually the real Jane Lafitte, but he wasn't. He wasn't the real Jane Lafitte. Okay, we have The Phantom, Bad Blood, and Bengala, Part 2, The Hunter Track. The Hunter Track. We have leopard people in these stories. We have the golden people in these stories. We have the Hunter Track. Like, all these classical elements that Lafitte originally created are in this story. And the story was created by Shane Foley, the art's done by Shane Foley, and it's edited by Glenn Ford. So the Phantom, he saves the Phantom is on this tracking, and he's tracking this girl to try and find why are the leopard people getting involved? Because the leopard people, right? The leopard people are a type of organization. They're pretty much a cult, and they're a type of organization that wants to try and take over the world, and in doing so, bring people into their cult and all that sort of stuff. So the leopard people are very, very bad people. They're very, very bad. They're despicable people. And it goes on to say, "Stay with him. Whoa, a hero. Whoa, a hero. Phantom, good. Thank goodness. That was the one you know him. All the jungle does a good man to have here now. Phantom, so good to see you again. This is Otho of the Golden Folk. Please, whoever or whatever that monster is, it could be on the girl's trail again. We have to catch up to them. You're the quickest. You ride on ahead. Leave me, I'll be okay. It's our best choice, I think. Thank you." They are turning on to the Hunter Track. So another thing that we've got to notice is that in the first part of this story, we saw Devil Road, which is it's pretty much an old story that was originally created by Lafitte. It's an old story, and there's this road that runs through the jungle, right? There's this road that runs through the jungle. It's so that smugglers can get from A to B and go past the Phantom's jungle hideaway. And yeah, it's pretty much a jungle highway, pretty much. And the Devil Road is supposedly still there, and it's been covered over with jungleness and jungleness, and then it eventually somehow leads to the Haunted Track. And a lot of these panels, done by Shane Foley, are beautiful, amazing, and they must have taken a lot of work. Anything that takes a lot of work that you're able to put into it, you'll get good results from it. And there they are. I wonder who the hooded man is they've met. Again, he's taking her into the jungle. Go, devil, go! Leave the girl alone. Back off, you. Back off now. You okay, miss? He didn't hurt you. Thank goodness devil came when he did. No, I'm fine, thank you. The wolf went that way. Try to follow him. So the devil tries to follow him. The Phantom says, Phantom, after all this time, do you remember me? Huh? I don't think I can recollect your memory. Or at least do you recall my squashed rubbish tin shield? Haha, it's me, Bruno. I married a Countess, Louisa, the monster of the Green Valley. And like a story that I haven't read before, but it seems like a good story. I've got it in my collection. I've been wanting to read it for a good while, and now we have the monster from the Green Valley. All these classical elements thrown into this story, and what for? Because it's nostalgia. It's nostalgia, and it's so good. So this girl tells pretty much her story, and the Phantom listens. A Bengala scientist, Dr. Emma Clark, had met us and got involved to help this young lass expand her experience of the world. There's that name, Dr. Clark again. All I want is to know a bit more about the rest of the world, and I decided to run away to do that. Father is really angry with me. But today went worse than expected. We didn't know Laloria would be pursued to be returned so violently. Dr. Clark didn't expect such trouble. That's because Dr. Clark didn't know Counselor Avram, Laloria's father, nearly as well as she thought, Ortho and Jack. And so I think the reason behind here that I think Dr. Clark, Emma Clark, and the Avram, the counselor called Avram, I reckon there's some sort of partnership going on there. I think that they're working together at something, and I think that in doing so, they can try and take this girl and they can go and try and tease her and trying to show her the world when really there might be something else at play here. And it's continued, and then I needed to find this leopard man, continued in the witch's way. And if you want to be like the Colonel and subscribe to the Phantom for $208 per year, you can subscribe at www.phantomcomic.com.au. Just look at that back cover. It's beautiful. Beautiful. All purple. Just how we like it. Purple's the best color. Is he? Am I debating something here? Okay, we've got this other Phantom comic to talk about. So we've got the Phantom, Press Service, and Bad Blood in Bengala Part 3. We've got a very, very beautiful looking cover by Luca Berta. And I was talking about Luca Berta, and I we hadn't seen anything from Luca for a good couple of years, and now we've got this cover to talk about, and it's so beautiful. Like, look at it's a painted Phantom cover, and how many times of the year are you going to see a painted Phantom cover? Very, very rarely. Very, very rarely. I love this. It's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great job. Excellent job. Fantastic with the PH. And this is issue number 1965. It's 36 pages long, and let's have a look. Okay, The Phantom Press Service, a Fratelli Spada story, art by Senio Partesi. There's many times on this YouTube channel where I have tried to pronounce his name, and every single time I've probably butchered his name, which is not great, but that's okay. Not great, but okay in a sense. Okay, we have the Fratelli Spada. This was first published by Fratelli Spada in Adventure Americana Nuova Serie Lo Uomo Mascarato, number 94. I tried to pronounce that whole name, I think, in an episode of Enthusiast, and I butchered that real hard. So we have this story. There's these two journalists, and they're from New York City, and they're wanting to. They've pretty much just been fired for nothing really, and they discovered this mythical creature called the Phantom, and they go to the dead woods, and they're wanting to know more about this Phantom. So they go and they spend their life savings on going to the Phantom. They get there's another person into this story. They hear of these two people wanting to go to the Phantom. And because this person has a bit of a grudge against the Phantom, wants to kill the Phantom, he goes into the jungle, shows them their way, goes into the jungle, replaces a person, they get a picture of the Phantom, and by that time, they are wanting to kill the Phantom. The tribal elders are thinking that these two people are wanting to kill the Phantom, but no, they're not wanting to kill the Phantom. They've been betrayed here, and because of that, the tribal elders think that, oh no, we need to get rid of these people. They are bad people. When these two people have been set up real good, and they are being set up and being hit for a home run. Yeah, they're being hit for 6. So the Phantom devises a plan. They go into the Skull Cave. They get catched at the netting, and at the end they go through a secret hidden tunnel, which leads us to a cavern, a cave that has a special chemical reaction. So it leads to a lot of people starting to hallucinate. So then they start to wear face coverings and face masks, and to prevent them from hallucinating and tearing themselves up to pieces, because they're seeing things that aren't actually there. So they run into the statue, and the Phantom says, "I'll catch up." The guy says, "I'll catch up. I want to collect some of this." And then the Phantom says, "Don't touch that. Let's get out of here quickly." So the cave starts to fall to pieces, starts to collapse, and they get out within measured time. And then they say, "Oh no," he says, "Oh no, my camera's gone." And no, the Bandar Pygmy tribe person had picked it up before it got smashed. How good is that? And then they go back to where they come from, and they release a story called "The Mystery is 400 Years Old. Who is the Phantom?" from our special correspondents, Holly Lane and Will Dark. And also, congratulations to you. Here's a bonus check that demonstrates not only in our appreciation of that of the board of directors, journalists like these. How did you ever find them? Oh, Mr. President, in all modesty, even if I do say myself, I have a certain nose for talent, raw talent. Of course he does. He takes all ownership of this is my scene and this. He is an absolute snob. He is an absolute snob, isn't he? He's an absolute snob. He dresses like one and he acts like one. And he's probably an arrogant fool as well. Okay, so we have The Phantom, Bad Blood and Bengala by Shane Foley, Part 3, The Witch's Way. So the Phantom, they continue their journey to the Witch's Way with the Golden Folk. And the Phantom and the Golden Folk run into these two little kids. And the kids tell them that most of the story. They hand on to the hands of track. They go to the Witch's Way. And because of the witches and the Golden Folk don't really know much about this track, and the Witch's Way, and the Phantom says the name of the road that led to the so-called Ghouly Ghouly Witch. She's gone, but there is still strangeness in the air sometimes. Shush, voices. The Tessai? Thank you, but first, since you have a warrior following them, I'm going to this captive patrolman's help and to see if he's all right. Follow if you wish, Eutho, but but don't be fooled by any of the weirdness. This place isn't called for nothing. Witch's Way for nothing. Witch's Way? The name of the road that led to the so-called Ghouly Ghouly Witch. She's gone, but there is still strangeness in the air sometimes. Shush, voices. There is these voices. The Phantom already knows what they are, and he says, "Time is up, lowlife." What? Oh, ah! And the Phantom tries and tells him, but then he faints, and he saves the jungle patrolmen from anything in between. Not sure. There's some secret. Another soldier. Another golden man. This is Eutho. Don't worry. He's on our side. In fact, if not for him, I wouldn't know about your trouble. And later on. But Gorn ran just like that? No one argues with the ghost who walks. I think this panel here is probably my favourite out of all of the panels that Shane Foley has done in this story so far. That ends in the first part. There's a part in the first part. There's a panel in the first part where it's like a track and the Devil Road is going like that, and you've got all these trees, and it just looks so beautiful. It looks so beautiful. There's heaps of detail, and it just looks so good. And then he says, "Oh, good strong pulse, breathing normally. I remember now. Oh, dizzy." Continued in beyond the Tessai Trail. And there's this tribe. It's all silent. No one's talking. And then he realizes what is actually happening beyond the Tessai Trail. And if you want to subscribe, that you can go to this website, and you can subscribe for $208. Go to this website for more information. And there you go. There you have it. There is my live comic book review of two fantastical Phantom comic books, issue number 1963 and issue number 1965. So I hope you enjoyed this comic book review of some very, very amazing comics. And as always, keep Phantom caving, stay safe, and you'll see me on the channel very, very soon, next time on the channel. Bye!